Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the legendary Brother Enoch Muhammad of Hip Hop Detox. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again as well, sir. My sister Miriam says, assalamu alaikum, family, and people showing you love already. Yes, sir. Well, Brother Enoch, right now, trending all over the news worldwide is the term poison, hashtag hip hop detox. Man, everybody wants to know what's going on with your book. How did it come about?
Well, you know what? I'm going to start off by saying, in the name of the Almighty God, Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all holy praise is due forever. I give thanks and praise, for surely nothing that I'm doing would even be a thought in my head if it wasn't for his coming.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm so thankful for the Mahdi coming, and I'm thankful for the exalted Christ being the one that said, hey, I know who you are, and was willing to demonstrate that type of love and commitment to the truth. And so I'm so thankful for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the living exalted Christ.
Yes, sir.
And I'm so thankful for their servant who sits in his seat by their permission, in the honorable brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad. So everybody who listens to this and who will listen, I greet you all in peace by saying, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Poison, you know, I'm gonna tell you something, Josh, that I didn't tell anybody yet. So this is breaking news, Josh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
People I had a conversation with this about. When I was in high school, there was a couple of designers in the city of Chicago, fashion designers. And I wanna say this one was Willie Wear. And so I was performing at a show. And as I told you before, Josh, I used to be I was a hip hop house dancer. I was doing hip hop dancing and house music, you know. And so for a competition, I think it was at Malcolm X College, if I'm not mistaken. This is where I think Big Daddy Kane was the headline performer, but D.A. Smart was performing there also. That was my first time ever seeing D.A. Smart perform during that time period in 1990. So anyway, we had outfits on, matching outfits. And we had an outfit where on one sleeve it read, everything is poison. And on the other sleeve, it read, nothing is poison. And we actually have a picture of that. And the new video trailer for the book, we put that picture in the second video trailer. And so when I think about that, and I actually forgot about that until not too long ago, you know, we've been involved in the poison for a long time, whether consciously or, you know, unconsciously. And so, you know how we have these sayings, you know, if you're going to get some alcohol, you go into a bar, people drinking, it's like, man, pick your poison, man, pick your poison.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
We off top know it's poison. You know, just pick whichever poison you're gonna get tonight. Well, I must say that the inspiration for this book, if it wasn't for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and reading Message to the Black Man and being led down the path, I would have never thought about the life that I was living coming up as a teenager, and then the things that we've gone through over these past 30 plus years. I would have never thought about it in this perspective in terms of the poison. So this book is an analysis, and I want to come at it from two different perspectives. I would say, for those who have accepted the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and you went through the process to get an X, you know, when you first come to the teachings, you're taught that after all else fails, here comes Islam.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Well, if we added the poison to that, let's say after everything of poison that you've tried in life that you knew how to try, here comes obedience to the will of God. However, you get taught a little while later that obedience to God would manifest all of your and my defects. Sometimes there's latent poisons that are within us that have not fully manifested. that we've picked up on along the way. So we could go into the prenatal aspect of poisons, because there's certain things that came in through the milk maybe, or through the bloodstream of mama, certain inclinations, if you will, certain things that, may have not manifested because they were dormant. However, certain things can trigger them. And from a spiritual perspective, those leviathans, if you will, those spiritual leviathans, there's certain things that sometimes gotta, some winds gotta whip up those things that are subconscious, those things that aren't apparent. But when they get whipped up, they come out and they're manifested. So now you have to deal with that. And so this book deals with those kind of poisons. However, when you're unaware of them, you don't call them poison. You just call it having fun. I'm just kicking it, man. I'm just having fun. We getting lit, we going to a kickback, And so the book kind of goes into that, but it goes into it from a very reflective type of perspective. And for some people, it's very nostalgic because the time period from 1985 to 1990, that's the time period that it covers. So for those who may have not seen the trailer, the Reagan era and the crack era is mentioned, However, in the book, we don't call it crack because we didn't call it crack at first. We called it Ready Rock. And so we had friends back in the day that, I got friends that got busted in high school. They had 100 packs of Ready Rock. And it didn't become crack until the FBI got involved in it, and they called it crack. So the book kind of goes into, I call it a slice of life, different slices of life that allows a person who didn't live during that time period at all, or maybe those who may have been very young, to get an idea, as some young people have told me, it gave them it showed them what their parents grew up in. And how we went from not having metal detectors in the 80s to then having metal detectors, because we had classmates that may have brought shotguns, or we ourselves might have brought guns and weapons to protect ourselves, during that time period. So you begin to see the causation of things, the origin of things from the 80s perspective going forward. So, those are some of the things, and I don't know if I answered your question completely, but I'll just stop and just say that those are some of the elements that's in this book, where it's not like a regular novel where it just goes from beginning to end dealing with, a character on one level. This is more holistic from the perspective of, you're getting a view of a time period and what this young boy named Daryl went through, and how life treated him, running away from home at the age of 14 and being out there with not too much parental guidance and having to really feel the effects of all the different poisons in life at that time between the years of 1985 and 1990.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. Well, and people are showing you love on Facebook, and I want to let you know that we're very proud and look forward to reading your book. How can we get the book?
Well, the book will be, you can go to the website, which is www.poisonbooks with an S, because this is the first part one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Books.com. We're looking for part 2 to come out sometime in July. And so March 26th is the official release, and it's actually my 31-year anniversary of receiving my ex. I received my ex March 26th of 1991. And so this would be 31 years later. My first book, Poison, is coming out. And I can say our first book because with those who work with Hip Hop Detox, my wife, Miss Keisha, and those others, we're looking to have a series of things that are going to come out. And so Poison, book 2, From Darkness into Light, is scheduled to come out in July. And then we'll get that Poison book 3 coming out in October.
Wonderful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we are avid readers at the People's Podcast, so we look forward to reading the whole series. And if you ever do you plan on doing anything as far as like a TV show or a movie with the books?
You better get out of my messages, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely. Because it took 7 years to get to this point. I started this process in 2014 in writing, And we didn't want it to be a 600, 700, 800-page book. We didn't want it to be a cumbersome read because there's a lot of graphics in this book. There's a lot of visuals in this book. There's a lot of lyrics in this book. There's a lot of things in this book that will cause you to reflect. And there's questions that are being raised in this book that we would hope that people take the time to discuss and talk about. Because some people have already purchased books. They did pre-orders so that their youth group could read it and have discussions about it. And we have a curriculum and a workbook that's going with the book. So that way, those who see this for what it really is, this is a programmatic movement in the sense of taking this book and utilizing it to help evolve not only the narrative and the conversation, but the thought processes, you know, young people, because unfortunately, a lot of things that we think of as being back then, well, they're the same thing that's going on today. The only difference is the slang done changed. That's all. We're talking about getting a little bit of Reggie, a little bit of loud, a little bit of gas. But hell, y'all was talking about getting a doobie 40, 50 years ago, getting a joint, you know what I mean? So just because the slang changed, it don't mean that some of the behaviors and attitudes and habits have not changed. So the slangs may change, but a lot of things unfortunately stay the same. So we would want people to know that, look, this is something that is an evolving process. And so there'll be some things that may surprise you, but we hope that it would be pleasant surprises because we're at a time that we really do have to find ways to help evolve our capacity to critically think, to consciously listen, and to have resiliency through this process because there's so many things happening so fast that people are really losing mental stability. And when you have such, an avalanche of challenges to you mentally, you have to have supports that will help you to get balanced.
Oh, praise the Lord. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with the language change, me being from Naperville, outside of Chicago, but going to a lot of parties in Chicago, I was telling somebody the other day how when we came up, it was juking, but now it's twerking, you know what I'm saying? But ain't nothing changed, you know what I'm saying? But it was like you go to, you know what I'm saying? The language just changed. But yes, sir, I definitely understand. Now with the book, is it autobiographical in a sense with you, or is it just based, like you just made a whole nother person for the character?
Well, it's a combination. You know, it's a little bit of me in there, a little bit of you in there, a little bit of some other people in there. I mean, I'll just say this: it's a lot of all of us in these stories, and there's a genre of literature called a novel with a key. Novel with the key. That genre allows for you to take a slice of life and put it in a way where it gives you something more than just a story. And so I will say that there are a lot of things in here that leads you right into book 2 and book 3. And Allah willing, some surprises that's coming up, Allah willing, next year. However, the things that we all go through, it would be a blessing if people could understand during the time that they're going through a lot of problems, if they were able to have something to pierce through the gravity of what they're going through, to get them to take a deep breath, slow down for a minute, and reflect and consider alternatives. I'll tell you one part in the book, it deals with, I would say, it deals with relationship issues. And when you're a teenager and you're experimenting and you have these relationship issues, you come up on decisions that you have to make, and depending upon the quality of life that you've lived, the foundation that you have, your level of consciousness and awareness, you may make a right decision, even though you may not feel it's right because you think it may bring you more stress, more drama, more problems. However, if you receive something that is like a high level insight, and even though you don't understand it because you don't feel like you can live up to it, but even with you considering it, it could allow you to make a decision that's better than what other people would make. And so there's a part in here that deals with that in terms of a real life situation. My girlfriend, I got her pregnant. What do I do? Some people, man, they do some very drastic things. She set me up. She want to get, she wanted to get pregnant. You know what I mean? So you got some people that get angry. What do you do in anger? Are you about to commit a homicide because you think that this person try to set you up and blow up your spot because she knew you was married, or she knew you had another girl, and she trying to do something to hurt you? You know what I mean? What do? I think we had was it a football player some years ago?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Girlfriend?
Yeah. Rake a roof, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to just say, man, I'm gonna get, my solution is I'm gonna kill you and the baby.
Yeah.
That's what my solution gonna be. And now you facing double murder. So now you done made life much worse for yourself by making such a drastic decision.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now we have situations that may not be as extreme, but they're still very pivotal decisions, because we got 16 and 26 and 36 and 46 and 56-year-olds right now dealing with the same type of situations. Well, what do I do? What are my alternatives? And will I be willing to consider some alternatives that's not coming at you in a heavy-handed way, coming at you? It might be a little comical, you know what I mean? It might be a little funny, or it might be something that you like, wow, that's deep. But at least it'll come at you in a way just to make you think, and then say, hey, what would you do? What would be the choices for this character? And by looking at that character, maybe you can self-reflect. And even if you can't identify with some of these situations, it might be somebody you care about and love that's going through the same thing. Because the reality is that poisons are everywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Manifest in different ways, and they produce different type of challenges for us. So a lot of times you may not go through one challenge at a particular time, but you keep breathing. Keep breathing. You never know when your turn comes.
That's right. That's right. Great. Yes, sir. And thank you everybody who's showing love and tapping in on YouTube. When I put this on YouTube, please let us know what city you're from. Brother Samuel says Assalamu alaikum, and then he's saying Jackson, Mississippi. Thanks to everybody who's showing love. Brother Enoch, I have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast, but I also want to make sure that when we come back that we address while we pulling this up, can you let us know the website again, Brother Enoch, for everybody who's coming in?
Yes, the website is www.poisonbooks.com. www.poisonbooks.com.
Wonderful. Yes, sir. And I wanted to make sure that I let you know, been acting my whole life. So, when you want to, you got a character, you want somebody to pull it off, just let me know for the upcoming project, whatever you're working on, please let us, keep me posted. Oh,
well, hey, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because we most definitely, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 second. Great. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, boom. All right, perfect. No, thanks. All right, here we go. All right. And thanks to everybody who's on Facebook, YouTube. All right, there we go. Okay, boom. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. All right, for everyone who's a sponsor, who would like to be a sponsor of the People's Podcast, please Cash App the People's Podcast. We're thankful for every donation, every sponsor. Starting with my brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera, a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of that. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. Please get her books. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually, young girls all across the country and right here in the studio of Atlanta, Georgia. We love our tiny dancers. Rod Communications, if you're working on a book and you need copy editing, project management, content development, or media relations, please reach out to Rod Communications. Also, fashion guides, men, streetwear for men and boys, 314-329-6009. He'll keep you fresh and dripping with the best in fashion. Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad out of Austin, Texas, conflict mediation, squashing the beef throughout the Southwest region. He's done a phenomenal job. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, her book, Giving Birth to a God in the Science of Child Rearing. Thank you very much, Sister Fudia. Sister Sherry Muhammad, AsiaticMinds.com. She teaches STEM virtually to young kings and queens all across the country, AsiaticMinds.com. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Brother Rashad Muhammad, Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services. out of Chicago. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Right back to the author, brother Enoch Muhammad of Hip Hop Detox. Okay, boom. Now, okay, so brother Enoch, the next question I want to know is, when you finished it, how did it feel to accomplish something that you set out your mind to, and then actually finish? How did that feel?
It was surreal. Honestly, it was surreal because it was 7 years in the making, and so many things transpired in those 7 years. With my mother passing in 2016, and it's a different. It's life. The script is called the vicissitudes of life, and I call it the roller coaster. Because, it's like you got to remember that down is not always going to be down. So seasons change. And when it comes up, be thankful for the up. And when it comes down, just know, hey, it may not be all the way down, but down is never out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Never out. So, when we think about just those 7+ years, it's humbling. I would say it's very humbling. We always hear about what people say about those who become authors and the struggle and the trial, because you're really dealing with yourself. It's really a combat in some ways, because you have to force yourself to be as focused as you can be, and then be resilient about it, and don't get so hard on yourself where you feel like, well, if it didn't happen when you put a timeline on it, then it's never going to happen. You really have to. You have to really humble yourself and say, look, the Almighty has me here for a reason. There's a book inside of me. I'm going to force myself to be patient enough to go through the process and continue working on it until I get to a point where I can say, you know what, I feel confident that this is about to, come up out of me, and to push yourself, and that's probably the most challenging thing when it comes to being a new author, period, is understanding that, look, you're going to have to sacrifice something that you like or love better. So if you say you want better health, okay, you're going to have to sacrifice that half or hour of sleep so you can get up early enough to go work out. If you know you got to do something else before, you're going to have to sacrifice, to be able to say, hey, you know what? I really would like to eat 3 bean pies right now. As delicious as this bean pie is, guess what? I might go 3 months. I'm not touching the pie. I'm not touching nothing sweet, because I want to increase my health. So I'm going to do something that I really like better, and sacrifice what might be, it's good, but it's not the best right now, because the result is I'm going to get what I want as far as this outcome. And so I think that you begin to learn those things, when you say, I want to be an author, or you want to complete whatever in life you want to complete. You have to be willing to say, hey, I'm willing to go for what's best for what I want to accomplish at this moment. It don't mean you can't go back to it. I hope you don't go back to eating 3 bean pies, though. don't go back to doing that. That's not the best health move. Bean pies are great, and they're healthier than a lot of other stuff, but it's still a sweet. It's still sweet. Sir. Some people's bean pies are too sweet.
Yes, sir.
A whole other conversation. But I'll tell you right now, I'm saying it publicly. Josh, I put $1,000 on it. I got a bean pie in Chicago that's rough. I know Chef Brandon might be seeing and hearing this, and he got a cold bean pie too. But I got 1,000 on who I think would win the bean pie competition. And if I got anybody else that want to enter a bean pie competition hosted by the People's Podcast, I'll put 1,000 up, and we'll do a bake off. We got to see the person bake, but we'll do a bake off. I got a chef, and I don't mind saying his name, Cedric Muhammad. I think Cedric First Fruit Bakery bean pies, I think it will take care of that business. So I'm letting it be known that I'll put 1,000 on it.
That's great, man. Okay, I never knew Uncle Cedric was like make bean pies. I didn't know that.
Bro, his bean pies, he's been doing it since probably 92. He's been baking since 92, since I've known him. He first came into mosque, but he took time to work in Muhammad University, baking with Brother Dennis. And then he started doing the different types of bean pies in the 90s. He's the ones who had those little small little bean pies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He
Yes, sir.
have the blueberry bean pie, the caramel, what was it, caramel chocolate bean pie. He got the strawberry bean. He got the, he got some other not blueberry. He got a caramel bean pie. Then he do the cheese pies. But I'm like, this brother's off the chain. He's been doing this since then.
Mm. I didn't know that. All praises to okay, real quick. I remember him selling bean pies. I just never knew he made it. That's good. Hey, and you saying he got the best recipe?
Bruh, he got. I'm just letting it be known. A lot of people, they don't know this because they playing games. You gotta understand. You put some bean pie connoisseurs together and put your money up.
Okay, I didn't know that for breakfast subject. That's good. Okay, yes, sir.
Hey, I've had horrible bean pies. I've had great bean pies. As a matter of fact, I made probably the worst bean pie ever. Sister Wanda, when I first came to the nation, Sister Wanda here in Chicago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wonderful elder MGT. She she attempted to eat my bean pie and she just shook her head because I didn't know the process of liquefying the bean pie. So I made the nightmare bean pie. Like when people first hear about bean pie, they're like, I don't want to eat. They got beans in it. I made the nightmare bean pie. I made a bean pie that still had pieces of the bean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can see it. And she was like, brother, I can't believe you didn't liquefy the bean. I said, I did the best I could. I ain't have a blender. So I got out of the bean pie making process, but I learned, by eating a whole bunch of other bean pies, whose bean pie was the best. I've had Cleveland's, I had LA's, I've had a lot of people's bean pies. Quinn Cedric, top notch.
Yes, sir. Okay, well now it's on the list, and we're gonna make that happen. And thank everybody who's tapping in from all over the country right now with our brother of hip hop Detox, brother Enoch, on his new book Poison. Now, brother Enoch, we have one more question. Sister Robin says, "Assalamu alaikum, salam, ma'am," and so many people showing you love. One more question about the book for someone who's never, who's a reader, but who just wants to hear you say it, so I can chop it up and post it. What is the book Poison about?
The book Poison is about a young teen named Daryl who lives life in the city of Chicago on the south side, got family that lives all over the city. However, through some things that go on in his home, he decides to run away. And so he has to experience being homeless and experience, beginning to grow up with not a lot of parental guidance to kind of help him navigate. And so he begins to face a lot of challenges with the decisions that he's made in life. And so through the course of the book, it goes into not only his journey, but it also goes into what surrounded him in his environment, the power of hip hop music, in the city of Chicago during that time. And then house music just exploded, during the time of this young, teenager, being in high school. So he started going to parties with 4,000-5,000 teenagers. Bismarck Hotel in Chicago is one of the largest venues to have that many teenagers. Mendel High School, going to the Ascot Hotel, and then going to the Music Box and the Warehouse and all these popular places, listening to DJ Ron Hardy and Frankie Knuckles and all these legendary DJs in Chicago, and what took place and what was the culture like? What were they drinking? What were they smoking? What were they popping? What was the style of dress? What was going on? Was those good old days really good? What was the murder rate back then? What was going on? So basically, this book takes you on a journey. So if you don't know about Chicago slang back then, there's a glossary to give you some indicators about Chicago slang back then, because some people don't know about Chicago slang. Some slang, because of rappers like Kanye and Common and some artists, they put the slang out there, so you may know some of the slang. But not from Chicago, certain slang you may have to get,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it takes you on that journey. And it takes you right into book 2, which, like I said, we're looking for that to come out in July of this year, From Darkness into Light, because the journey of Daryl is something that I think we all can relate to, and the evolving of Daryl to where he's about to go, I think a lot of people would be not only interested in, but you'll be able to relate to it.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, man, I can't wait to read it. I can't wait for everybody who's out. Let's make sure we support our brother. Make sure we go get it, so that we can read it and go along with the journey. Now, you spoke of Chicago artists in the 90s. What were some of the artists when I was in high school? It was Kanye, Common, Twister. Mm-hmm. But in the early, like when your book took place, who were the artists who didn't get mainstream, but who was like popping in Chicago? Like, who were some of those artists that we should know about?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, because he's in the book even, is D.A. Smart. I'm gonna say his name again, because before D.A. Smart was known to a lot of people that was in the Nation of Islam, he was known as the artist who won the Regal Theater talent show, where Art Kelly won the first year and D.A. Smart won the second year. But because his rap, Black People Ain't Prejudiced, we just mad, it was so powerful that the people didn't want to give him his prize money, even though everybody voted for him to win. So there was a big controversy about this artist known as D.A. Smart. And then other rappers from other cities, when they met and saw him perform, they were bowing down. It was like, this guy, the coldest artist ever. So he's one of those artists. And then you had artists who some people knew as Crunch, who became known as G2 from a group called 10 Trey. It was the 10 Trey Posse in Chicago. Then you had Black AG. You know, he got famous around the country for a song called No Type of Drug Dealer. Type of drug dealer. He got big, you know, outside of Chicago because of that. And then you had other artists in the city of Chicago that began to take house music and mix it with hip hop. So it became what was they calling that? Not hip hop, hip house. And so you had Fast Eddie and Pink House and, you know, Sundance. And, you know, you had some of those artists that began to combine hip hop and house music. So then they began to get popular because house became so huge in Chicago and Baltimore and different parts of the country that it went to Europe and it exploded in Europe, you know. So you had a lot of different artists. The Brat, of course, she wasn't the Brat at first. She was Shani. So she became the Brat, and then she hooked up with Crisscross. So she became huge as an artist from Chicago, the Brat. And then, of course, in the 90s, you had everybody from Crucial Conflict. You had Do or Die.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Snipers. And then you had a group that started in Indianapolis called X-Niggas, and then they changed to become Soldiers at War.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they became huge. You know, so all of this is Chicago, you know, based artists. You had some artists that weren't part of the quote unquote conscious artists, but they were artists that blew up nationally. Tizone and Lil Bud, based on entertainment, now called Hitlanders. They became huge. They were signed to Island Records and they went to Jive, and so they were picked up and they went international with their music. They had a couple of gold records, you know. So, you know, when Twister was big, initially him and D.A. Smart, they were label mates.
I know that. Okay.
Yeah, they were part of a record label called Creators Way. And so Creators Way Records had D.A. Smart, Twister, they had Do or Die. I think they had Snipers and a couple of other artists. Johnny P.
Okay.
That song with Do or Die, Pope.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was part of Creators Way also. You know, so you had a lot of artists that from Chicago that were really, you know, not only big in Chicago, but that they began to spread out. And I must say, the artists in the Nation of Islam, you know, I wish Star and Crescent could have continued, because those were some of the most powerful women in hip hop. I mean, they were huge. And then No ID, you know, him and Doug Infinite. You know, I used to go to the studio and hang out with Doug Infinite and No ID, and Common would be up there also. I think I was there when they were finishing up Common's second album. We were at J Chill Records, or J Chill Studios, up on 95th, right off of Damon, I think it was. And so I would be up there with them, and that's how I kind of connected with No ID. And so a lot of these artists during this time period, they were producing other artists. You know, Kanye was already, you know, learning from Doug Infinite and No ID. So I didn't get a chance to meet Kanye at that time, but he was already connected with them, you know, learning how to make beats, you know, during that time period. So when I left Chicago, that's when Kanye began to really, you know, kind of bubble in terms of being a producer and an artist. And then when I came back to Chicago, I heard a lot about Kanye.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
him working with an artist named I think his name was Payroll,
Mm.
and how he was really, you know, gaining traction with the beats that he was making before he really just blew up, you know, being in New York with Rockefeller Records. You know, so yeah, so I was part of that history, you know.
Yes, sir.
No ID when he was he had his record deal with Def Jam. Before Jay-Z took over, L.A. Reid was over Def Jam, and so No ID had an artist named K Fox. And
Mm.
so I was working with No ID, helping him out with that project. And I actually brought a couple of artists on to perform on a song he did with Ghostface Killer of Wu-Tang Clan. It's a group called Hypnotic Brass Ensemble,
Okay.
cold
Okay.
hip hop band. And so I brought them in to do a instrumental for No ID on a track that he produced for Ghostface. I think it was called Metal Loogies is what it
Mm.
was called. And so some of the different artists that I brought up, Amun and Kahari Lemuel, you know, they were some real, you know, popular artists in Chicago, and I brought them to No ID so then they could just show some of the music that they were doing that they had a buzz for in Chicago. And so, you know, some people got help, but No ID's deal kind of went under once Jay-Z took over. They, you know, the way they do it is when the administration changes, they begin to shelf all the artists and the deals that the previous administration had going. So he wound up having to shelf K Fox's project, but then No ID got a better situation, you
Mm.
know. So, you know, it's just amazing how everything works in a cycle. And you know, some of these stories, you know, in book 3 and 4, we'll get into some of the stories because there's some powerful things that took place that I think people just need to be aware of, because a lot of times we confine the nation to just a building, and we forget that all 196,940,000 square
That's right.
miles of this
That's
planet
right.
Earth, we have a whole Earth as ours. And so we have people from all walk of life. And you can't forget not only the square mileage, but don't forget the fact that we got 17 million with the 2 million Indians as the foundation of this. So I don't care if a person got a slave name or not, that's still a righteous person. That's one of the righteous.
Yes, sir.
And if they're not living that, that's because they have a misunderstanding. Those of us who know the language, hey, how can you blame us when we were born blind, deaf, and dumb?
That's right. That's right.
So that's where we have to be at right now. We got to close the gap.
Beautiful.
So praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And some people are showing you love. Brother Enoch, one more time, sir, for everybody who's just coming on, where can we get the book Poison from?
You can go to www.poisonbooks, that's with an S, poisonbooks.com, and you'll be able to go to get the pre-orders. And I'll give you a phone number as well and an email, because some people have been looking at the bookings for engagements, because we're looking to make sure that we do not only book releases, but speaking engagements where we can kind of dig into the book and the curriculum. And we have workbooks that are being put together and that we have for those who want to be able to take this on a youth program level or take it into their schools. So you can call 773-563-4315. That's 773-563-4315. You can text or you can leave a message. And if you have any particular questions or inquiries just regarding either the book or the engagements and activities or the workbook or the curriculum that's connected with it, you can most definitely communicate with us about it. And again, you can also email us. We're all over social media, so you can most definitely do that as well, so then we can communicate with you. But we look forward to taking this journey because we know this is the first step. So next week, March 26th here in Chicago, we're having the book release, and it will be virtual. So people will be able to actually pick it up. We're going to put the information out on Facebook and on Instagram so you'll be able to get the link. So if you're not able to be there in person, that's fine. We would love for you to join us virtually, and it will be a recording, so you'll be able to get it that way as well.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. Once again, Brother Enoch, we're supporting you. We're very proud and happy to be working with you. We look forward to reading the book series together. Look forward to you coming back on and letting us know once we read the books and break down some of these characters and do the workbook as well. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on to the People's Podcast. I'm just very excited and humbled to to work with you more on the acting side as well too. So we're gonna stay locked in with that.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, I'm thankful that you brought that up, because sooner than later, I just say it like that, and we'll let the work show.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Thank you again, Brother Enoch. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
All right.